My dear history lovers, if, holding a seemingly ordinary dime in your hand, examining the date, and realizing that what most people see as 10 cents could actually be worth far more. Most people drop pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters into a jar without ever thinking twice about them. Yet within that stash of loose change can lie coins that are exceptionally rare, unusual, or unique, and the 2005 Liberty 1 dime from the United States is one of those coins that has earned attention from collectors around the world. At first glance it looks like any other dime produced for everyday use. It bears the familiar face of a respected American president and the small P mint mark showing that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. But beneath its ordinary surface lies a fascinating history of coinage, minting processes, economic context, subtle variations, rare errors, and the surprising ways that tiny differences can transform an ordinary coin into something far more valuable. When most people see a Roosevelt dime, they recognize it instantly. The portrait of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt has appeared on the 10-cent piece since 1946, honoring his leadership through the Great Depression and World War II. Roosevelt was also a key figure in the fight against polio, and his association with the March of Dimes campaign made the dime itself a fitting tribute to both his legacy and his personal life story. The designer, John R. Sinek, created a dignified, balanced image for the obverse side of the coin that conveys both strength and humanity. The reverse features a torch symbolizing liberty, flanked by olive branches representing peace and oak branches symbolizing strength and independence. The long tenure of this design is unusual in American coinage history. Unlike many coins that change appearance periodically over decades, the Roosevelt dime has remained remarkably consistent, making only subtle changes as the minting process evolved. For decades, collectors and everyday coin handlers alike have become accustomed to the weight, size, appearance, and feel of this tiny piece of metal that plays a quiet but essential role in everyday commerce. The decade of the 2000s was a period of economic growth and transition in the United States, and the coins produced during that time reflect the ongoing need for reliable currency in a fast-paced society. Unlike earlier decades when dimes contained precious metals like silver, the Roosevelt dimes of the modern era are struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that a pure copper core is sandwiched between outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy, creating a coin that is durable, resistant to corrosion, and suitable for mass production. The diameter of a typical dime is 17.91 millimeters and its weight is approximately 2.27 grams. These physical specifications are consistent with dimes produced throughout the late 20th and early 21st centuries. In 2005, the Philadelphia Mint struck an enormous number of Roosevelt dimes stamped with the P Mint mark. These coins were intended for circulation across the United States, and their production reflected the steady demand for small change in everyday transactions. Bank tellers, cashiers, vending machine operators, and commuters all handled these coins countless times each day as they facilitated commerce, paid transit fares, and made change for purchases. The massive scale of production means that most 2005 dimes are extremely common in circulation, and in ordinary worn condition they remain worth only their face value of 10 cents. As with most coins of the modern era, the vast majority of 2005 dimes that remain in circulation today show signs of regular use. Their surfaces have become worn and dulled from decades of handling, brushing against pockets and coin trays, rattling in jars, and turning over in cash registers. The once sharp details in Roosevelt's portrait and the torch on the reverse have softened through wear, and the original mint luster has faded. These ordinary circulated coins are generally worth only small amounts above face value to collectors, often because they help complete date and mint mark sets. A worn 2005 dime might trade for a few cents or perhaps a few dollars in a collector's swap meet or online listing, but coins are not valued solely by how they look today. Collectors evaluate coins based on condition, rarity, variety, historical significance, and any unusual characteristics or errors that distinguish a particular example from the vast majority. Condition, in particular, plays a major role in determining worth. A coin that has never circulated and retains its original surfaces is described as uncirculated or mint state. Such coins are far rarer than circulated ones because most coins enter commerce and begin accumulating where almost immediately after leaving the mint. Collectors use a grading scale to assess a coin's condition, and the numerical grade reflects how much a coin's surface and details have been preserved since it was struck. A coin in mint state condition may be graded at levels such as MS60, MS63, MS65, and so on up to MS70, which represents a perfect coin free of any discernible flaws under magnification. For a large mintage coin like the 2005 dime, high mint state grades are relatively uncommon because so many coins were distributed into circulation where they began wearing down almost immediately. As a result, uncirculated examples with exceptionally sharp detail and original luster are valuable to collectors. A typical uncirculated 2005p dime graded around MS63 or MS64 may sell for a few dollars or perhaps $10 to $20 to someone who wants a high-quality example for their collection. But as the grade climbs into the mid to high 60s, the value increases substantially because coins that survive in such pristine condition are rare survivors from a massive production run. A 2005p dime graded MS66 or MS67 by a reputable grading service can command significantly higher prices at auctions or in private sales, as collectors seek out the best examples for their sets. Of course, beyond condition, the most dramatic increases in value come from coins that display errors, mistakes, and unusual varieties. These are coins that differ from the standard, expected appearance because something went awry during the minting process. Errors are not intentional. They result from mechanical anomalies, planchet preparation issues, misaligned dies, or other unforeseen conditions at one of the mint's production stages. Because the United States Mint produces coins on an industrial scale, minting billions of pieces each year, even a tiny percentage of error coins can represent a substantial number of surviving specimens. Some errors are relatively minor and attract modest collector interest, while others are dramatic and rare enough to command significant premiums. One type of error that collectors watch for is the off-center strike. This occurs when a planchet, the blank metal disc waiting to be struck, is not properly seated in the coining press when the dies come together. Instead of the die striking the planchet squarely in the center, the design is offset, causing portions of the coin's normal design to be missing while other parts appear shifted to one side. The degree of offset can vary widely. A coin that is slightly off-center may show only a small portion of missing design and might be worth a modest premium. But a coin severely off-center, perhaps 50% or more outside the normal strike area while still retaining the date and mint mark legible, can be worth hundreds of dollars or more, particularly if the coin remains otherwise in good condition. Another frequent error is the clipped planchet, which occurs earlier in the production process. Before a planchet can be struck, a metal sheet must be prepared, and blanks are punched from that sheet. Occasionally, the punch overlaps a previous hole or misfeeds, resulting in a leftover blank with a curved or straight section missing along its edge. When such a clipped planchet enters the striking press and receives the coin design, the finished coin unmistakably shows the missing section as a curved indentation along its edge. Many collectors find clipped planchet errors intriguing because they reveal a visible link back to the industrial process of coin production itself. Depending on the severity and type of clip, these coins can range in value from modest premiums of a few dollars up to dozens or even hundreds of dollars for particularly unusual examples. A related type of error is the broad strike, which happens when the collar that normally holds the blank in place during striking fails or is not present. Without the collar confining the metal, the struck coin spreads outward, becoming wider and flatter than a normal specimen. Broad strike errors may lack the standard raised rim and often appear noticeably larger in diameter and distorted compared to typical coins. These error coins can attract attention in the collector market, drawing premiums that reflect their unusual appearance and the mechanical anomaly they represent. Coins can also display die cracks and die chips, which are features that arise from wear and stress in the dies themselves. The dies used to strike coins endure tremendous pressure and repeated use, and over time small cracks can form along their surfaces. When a coin is struck with such a cracked die, a raised line or ridge appears on the coin where metal fills the crack area. Some collectors find these die crack features interesting because they provide a tangible record of the die's condition at the moment of striking. Larger breaks in the die chunks of metal breaking off entirely can produce raised blobs on the struck coin known as cuds, which also draw collector interest depending on their size and location on the coin's surface. Another intriguing category involves double dies, which occur during the creation of the working dies used to strike coins. In normal die production, a master hub impresses the design onto working dies multiple times until the correct depth and detail are achieved. If the alignment is slightly off between these impressions, the working die itself may contain doubled imagery. When coins are struck from such a die, they exhibit doubling in letters, numbers, or design elements. Some double die varieties become famous among collectors because the doubling is dramatic and distinctive. For the 2005p dime, widely recognized major double die varieties are not as common or as dramatic as in some other coin series, but minor doubling can still occur and be noteworthy enough to attract collector interest and modest premiums. Even the mint mark itself can provide interesting varieties. The mint mark on modern U.S. coins indicates the facility where the coin was struck, and for the Philadelphia Mint this mark is a small letter P placed near the date on the obverse. Variations in mint mark positioning, size, or doubling can occasionally occur, and these small differences can be worthy of attention from collectors. In earlier eras mint marks were applied by hand, and repunched mint marks sometimes occurred when an initial attempt was not properly centered and a second punch was applied. In the modern era, automated mint mark production makes such repunching less common, but collectors still examine the mint mark area carefully for subtle irregularities. One of the things that makes coins like the 2005 Roosevelt dime so interesting is the way that ordinary objects can reveal a hidden world of complexity. Most people never examine a dime more closely than to make a purchase or hear its clink in a cash register. Yet when a collector picks up such a coin and studies it under magnification, comparing its details to reference guides and known varieties, tiny differences become visible that tell a story about how the coin was made, what happened during its production, and how it has survived over time. Collectors also pay close attention to the way metal surfaces appear. A coin that is dull and worn from circulation may show little of its original detail, while an uncirculated coin often reveals sharp features and reflective surfaces known as luster. Historically, the term cameo refers to proof coins that show strong contrast between frosted devices and mirror-like fields. While circulation strikes are not typically expected to display deep cameo contrast, certain coins may show attractive surfaces that appeal to collectors simply because they look pleasing and well-preserved. In addition to struck coins intended for circulation, the U.S. Mint produces proof coins for collectors that are struck multiple times with specially polished dies and planchets. Proof versions of the Roosevelt dime for 2005 were struck at the San Francisco Mint and carry the S Mint mark. These proof coins are separate from the circulation strikes like the 2005 100 millions of which entered daily commerce. Proof coins themselves can be valuable, but they are sold directly to collectors rather than distributed for everyday use, and they inhabit a different collector niche. Proof coins of this era often hold values above face because collectors seek them out as part of proof sets, but their market differs from circulation strikes like the 2005 dime discussed here. The economic forces that influence coin collecting also play a role in shaping market values. Collector demand, metal prices, rarity, auction results, and trends among numismatists all contribute to the environment in which coins are bought and sold. A coin that might have been worth only a modest premium a decade ago may be worth significantly more today if collector interest has increased. Conversely, changes in collector preferences can influence values downward for coins that are common or less distinctive. One of the enduring aspects of coin collecting is that possibilities remain open for discovery. Even for years with massive production numbers like 2005, a rare coin can still surface in circulation or in a forgotten collection that reveals exceptional characteristics. Someone might find a 2005 dime in pocket change, notice something unusual about it, and bring it to the attention of a collector or grading service that recognizes its value. Stories abound within the numismatic community of collectors who discovered valuable coins in jars of old change, in boxes passed down through generations, or in rolls obtained from banks. For most coins, however, the story ends in ordinary circulation. Millions of 2005 dimes remain in wallets and coin jars across the United States, changing hands countless times and serving as reliable pieces of small change. These coins fulfill their intended purpose every day, facilitating transactions, helping make change, and circulating quietly through commerce. Yet for those willing to look more closely, the possibility exists that one of these coins may contain a hidden story, an unusual strike, a rare error, or an exceptional preservation that elevates it above its face value. The value of a coin is not determined solely by the number stamped on its surface. Instead, value in the world of numismatics emerges from a combination of historical significance, production context, surviving population, condition, and uniqueness. A coin that has survived decades without wear is valuable because it is rare and well preserved. A coin with a noticeable minting error is valuable because it represents an unusual moment when the minting process deviated from the expected. A coin with an interesting variety may be valuable because collectors seek out every nuance in a series. The 2005 Roosevelt dime sits at the intersection of these factors. It is a seemingly ordinary coin in terms of how common it is, but it is also part of a long and respected series that stretches back decades and carries deep cultural meaning. It has the potential, in rare cases, to display features that elevate it above everyday change. Coin collectors examine these possibilities carefully because the thrill of discovering something rare or unusual is what makes the hobby exciting and rewarding. For those who collect coins, examining a simple dime can be an educational experience. It is a way to connect with history, industry, craftsmanship, and economic forces that extend far beyond 10 cents. It is a reminder that even ordinary objects can have extraordinary stories. And for anyone who keeps a jar of spare change at home, the humble 2005p dime offers a reason to look more closely at the coins we see every day, because within that pile of metal discs may lie a piece of hidden history waiting to be recognized and appreciated. Dear viewers, if you're counting your spare change and pull out a dime that looks completely ordinary, you glance at the date and see 2010. Your first thought is likely it's worth 10 cents, nothing more. But what if that little piece of metal could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more? What if a tiny minting mistake, an unusual marking, or a rare production variety turned that dime into something collectors would pay big money for? That's exactly the kind of story that excites coin collectors and treasure hunters alike. Ordinary coins hiding extraordinary secrets. The 2010 Roosevelt dime may look ordinary to most people, but when you dive deep into its history, production, and the rare ways it can differ from the common examples in circulation, you discover a fascinating world where small variations can lead to surprisingly high values. The story of the 2010 dime is more than just about a coin dated 2010. It's about the larger history of American coinage, the evolution of minting technology, the traditions and changes in the Roosevelt dime series, and the subtle errors and varieties that make certain coins highly desirable. It's also about the fundamental ideas of value and rarity, how two coins that look almost identical can have dramatically different market worth depending on small physical differences that only careful observers notice. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the most influential figures in American history. Roosevelt led the country through the Great Depression with the New Deal and later through much of World War II. He also had a personal connection to the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio, a disease that he himself had battled. The decision to place Roosevelt's portrait on the 10-cent coin was both a tribute and a celebration of his legacy. The design was created by sculptor John R. Sinek, whose initials appear subtly within the coin's design. On the obverse side of the dime, Roosevelt's portrait looks forward with a sense of determination and dignity. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" flank the portrait, and the date appears near the bottom. The reverse side features a torch at the center, with an olive branch to the left representing peace and an oak branch to the right symbolizing strength and independence. This triumvirate of symbols captures the essence of what the Roosevelt dime was meant to represent: a nation committed to liberty, peace, and resilience. For many decades, the Roosevelt dime was struck in 90% silver and 10% copper. These silver dimes are now highly prized by collectors not only for their numismatic value but also because of the intrinsic value of the silver metal itself. However, rising silver prices in the early 1960s made it impractical for the United States Mint to continue producing silver coins for circulation. Beginning in 1965, the dime was struck in a clad composition consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between copper-nickel outer layers. This change made the coin more economical to produce while retaining its familiar appearance and practical durability for everyday use. By the year 2010, Roosevelt dimes had been in continuous circulation for more than 6 decades. They were everywhere, in cash registers, on public transit, in vending machines, and in the bottoms of piggy banks. They were the backbone of small change in everyday transactions, facilitating commerce in a way that nearly all Americans took for granted. The 2010 dime specifically was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the small letter D mint mark near the date on the obverse side of the coin. That year the Denver Mint produced well over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes intended for general circulation. Because of the enormous production numbers, most 2010 dimes are common and worth no more than their face value in regular circulated condition. In a typical pocket or jar of loose change, a 2010 dime shows where from years of use, the metal becomes dull, the raised details of the design smooth down, and the original mint luster disappears. When coins are in this everyday circulated condition, they generally sell for 10 cents or slightly more among collectors who want a representative example for a date and mint mark set. For many collectors, even common coins have some modest value because completing sets of each year and mint location is an enjoyable hobby. However, for anyone interested in the deeper world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins' value is not determined solely by how much a coin was originally intended to be worth. Value arises from rarity, condition, and the presence of unusual characteristics or errors. In the case of the 2010 Roosevelt dime, condition and minting varieties are key factors that can transform a seemingly ordinary dime into something far more valuable. Condition is measured using a grading scale that ranges from heavily worn coins at the bottom to virtually perfect uncirculated coins at the top. Coins that have been in circulation for years often have significant wear to the high points of the design. Roosevelt's cheek, hair details, the torch's flame, and the branches on the reverse all show wear first. A circulated coin with visible wear is generally worth only modestly more than its face value when sold to a collector. However, coins that have never been used in commerce and retain their original sharp details and surface luster are classified as uncirculated or mint state. Mint state coins are graded numerically on a scale from 60 to 70. Each point on this scale represents a finer level of detail and fewer imperfections. A dime graded MS-60 might show several contact marks or slight surface imperfections, while a coin graded MS-67 or higher is considered exceptionally well struck and preserved. For large mintage years like 2010, uncirculated coins at the very top of the grading scale are rare survivors, and collectors pay premium prices for them. A 2010 dime graded MS-65 might be worth several dollars or tens of dollars to the appropriate collector. But examples graded MS-67 or MS-68, especially if certified by a reputable third-party grading service, can fetch far more, sometimes commanding $100 or more at auction or in private sales because of their rarity in such pristine condition. Beyond condition, the most significant premiums in coin collecting come from errors and mint varieties. These are coins that differ from the standard design or production expectations in some unusual way. These differences most often arise from the minting process itself, which, despite being highly mechanized and carefully controlled, still involves complex machinery and human oversight. When something goes awry, sometimes by the slightest misalignment, sometimes by a production oversight, the resulting coins can be considered errors. One well-known type of error is the off-center strike. This occurs when a coin blank, known as a planchet, is not properly centered within the coin press when the dies come together. Instead of receiving the full design in the correct position, part of the coin's image is pushed off to one side. The result is a coin where part of the design appears cropped, missing, or incomplete. The degree of off-centering can vary widely. A coin off-center by only a few percent may show a small gap near the edge and might be worth only a modest premium. But a coin that is off-center by 50% or more, while still showing the date and mint mark clearly, can be worth significantly more because such examples are rare and visually striking. These coins are prized by collectors because they provide a tangible record of a moment when the minting machinery did something unexpected. Another type of error is the clipped planchet. This happens even earlier in the manufacturing process when blank discs are punched from strips of metal. Normally, a smooth, round blank is cut for each planchet. But occasionally, the punch overlaps a previous cut or the strip shifts slightly, leaving a planchet with a curved or straight section missing. When this clipped planchet enters the coin press and receives the coin design, the missing portion remains visible as a distinctive curved indentation on the finished coin. Depending on the size and shape of the clip, these errors can be simple curiosities or dramatic collector pieces. A large, clean clip that removes a significant portion of the coin's perimeter can be worth a notable premium to collectors who specialize in error coins. A related type of error is the broad strike. Under normal production, a coin blank is held firmly in place by a collar while the dies strike it with tremendous pressure. If the collar fails, the metal can flow outward beyond the usual confines of the coin, producing a broader and thinner piece with an irregular appearance. Broad strike errors from modern coins like the Roosevelt dime are relatively uncommon and can be visually distinct. Some broad strike errors show a noticeably larger diameter and softer edges than normal coins. These errors, too, attract collector interest and can command premiums when authenticated. Die cracks and die chips are another class of production anomalies. The dies used to strike coins are massive pieces of hardened steel that endure intense pressure with every strike. Over time, these dies wear down and eventually crack. When a cracked die strikes a coin, the raised crack on the die transfers to the coin as a raised line or ridge that was not part of the intended design. Smaller cracks may be subtle, but larger ones can create dramatic raised lines on the coin's surface. A die chip occurs when a larger piece of the die breaks away entirely, leaving a void that causes an abnormal raised blob on the struck coin. These types of errors are frequently collected not because they are extremely rare, but but because they provide a visible record of the minting process and the lifespan of the die itself. Another interesting category involves the double die. This type of variety arises not during the striking of the final coin but during the creation of the die itself. Dies are created by impressing a master hub into a working die. If that process involves multiple misaligned impressions, the working die can have a doubled image. Coins struck from such a die display doubling in letters, numbers, or parts of the design. Double die coins are among the most famous and widely collected varieties in numismatics because the doubling can be dramatic and visually obvious. Not every year or mint produces noticeable double die varieties, but collectors pay close attention to each issue for any signs of subtle doubling in the date, motto, or lettering. Mint mark errors can also occur. The letter D on a 2010 D dime indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint. On most modern coins, the mint mark is applied using automated processes that minimize human involvement. However, variations can still occur in how the mint mark appears. Collectors sometimes find coins with weakly struck mint marks, partially filled mint marks, or unusual positioning relative to the date. While not all such examples carry high value, certain mint mark varieties become notable when they are confirmed as genuine and widely recognized within specializing communities. Beyond mechanical and strike errors, collectors also study the specific characteristics of how coins were produced in certain years. For example, within the Roosevelt dime series, the strength of the strike on the reverse sides bands on the torch has become a specific attribute collectors look for. Coins that show complete and strong horizontal lines across those bands are said to have full bands. This designation is separate from condition grading but often contributes to a coin's desirability in the collector market. A 2010 D dime with full bands, especially if combined with high condition grading, may demand a higher price than an example without this designation. The collector market for coins such as the 2010 D Roosevelt dime also depends on broader economic and cultural factors. Numismatics has a large and diverse following, ranging from casual beginners who enjoy finding a nice coin in change to serious specialists who study subtle varieties and error types in great detail. Auctions, online marketplaces, coin shows, and grading service certifications all contribute to a dynamic market where values can fluctuate over time based on collector interest, rarity, and documented examples of particular coin types. Coin grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) and Numismatic Guarantee Corporation (NGC) play a significant role in establishing market confidence. When a coin is professionally authenticated and assigned a numeric grade, buyers and sellers have assurance regarding its condition and originality. Coins slabbed by these services often command higher prices than raw, ungraded examples because of the trust buyers place in the grading standards. For example, a brilliant uncirculated 2010 D Roosevelt dime graded MS-67 with full bands by a reputable service may sell for hundreds of dollars at auction, whereas a similar coin without the full bands designation or graded at a lower level might sell for only a fraction of that amount. Without professional grading, collectors must rely on their own examination and comparison to reference examples, which can lead to discrepancies in perceived value. Professional certification helps standardize expectations and allows rare, high-quality coins to command appropriate premiums. Collectors also share information through numismatic publications, online forums, and reference guides that document known varieties, error types, and auction results. These resources help collectors learn what to look for, how to identify subtle differences, and where to seek authentication for coins they suspect may be valuable. Over time, coins that might once have been overlooked can be brought to light and appreciated for their unique characteristics. In everyday use, most 2010 D Roosevelt dimes remain ordinary. They still appear regularly in pocket change, vending machines, cash registers, and coin trays. Most will never be examined closely beyond seeing their date and mint mark. For most people, they will remain essentially 10-cent pieces of currency. However, for those who peer more carefully and understand the nuances of minting, some of these coins can tell richer stories. One might be a coin that was never circulated and retains remarkable original luster, offering a glimpse into what it looked like fresh from the mint more than a decade ago. Another might be a subtle error coin where the die struck just slightly off-center, leaving a sliver of blank metal and a shifted design that draws interest because it represents a momentary mechanical quirk. Yet another might be a clipped planchet or a coin struck from a slightly worn die that transferred its cracks onto the coin's surface. Each of these possibilities represents a small variation that can significantly influence collector interest and market value. The history and value of the 2010 Roosevelt dime underscore an important truth in numismatics. Value is not inherent only in what a coin was meant to be worth as currency but also in what the coin became through its production, survival, and collectible significance. A coin's worth can be tied to its condition, historical context, rarity, and the curiosity it inspires among those who study it. The difference between a dime worth 10 cents and one worth hundreds lies in the intersection of history and chance, craftsmanship and anomaly, mass production and unique variation. Coins like the 2010 Roosevelt dime remind collectors and everyday observers alike that even the smallest objects can hold story, significance, and surprise. The next time a dime emerges from a pocket or a jar of spare change, take a closer look. What seems ordinary at first glance may, upon careful examination, reveal a hidden story and value far beyond what appears on the surface. In the world of coins, even the smallest denomination can become something extraordinary when time, history, and human curiosity come together. Imagine picking up a seemingly ordinary dime from a pocket full of change, studying its date and mint mark, and suddenly realizing it might be worth far more than 10 cents. Most people see a 2011 dime and assume it has little value beyond face. Yet hidden within everyday circulation coins are rare varieties, minting errors, die mistakes, and unusual production anomalies that can make a single dime worth dozens, hundreds, even thousands of dollars. These are the coins that fuel collectors' dreams, the ones that transform a jar of old coins into a treasure chest waiting to be discovered. The 2011 Liberty 1 dime. The Roosevelt dime struck at the Denver Mint in 2011 is one such coin that holds far more history and hidden possibility than most people ever imagined. At first glance, the 2011 dime looks exactly like every other dime of the modern era. It bears the familiar portrait of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, facing left. The lettering states Liberty and In God We Trust, with the date 2011 and the small d mint mark indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint. The reverse displays the torch of liberty in the center, flanked by olive and oak branches symbolizing peace and strength, a design that has been used on Roosevelt dimes since 1946. But most people never think about how coins are made, what could possibly go wrong in the minting process, or why some coins can be worth far more than their face value. The Roosevelt dime itself has a rich and significant history in American coinage. The coin was introduced in 1946 as a tribute to President Roosevelt, who had died a year earlier in 1945. Roosevelt's leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his personal connection to the March of Dimes campaign to combat polio, made him a beloved figure in American life. Coin designer John R. Sinek was tasked with creating a new design that would both honor Roosevelt's legacy and provide a modern, dignified appearance for the nation's 10-cent piece. Sinek's design placed Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse and introduced a reverse with a torch, olive branch, and oak sprig, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength that resonate with American ideals. From its introduction, the Roosevelt dime replaced the long-running Mercury dime that had been used since 1916. The Mercury dime's winged liberty was a classic design, but Roosevelt's portrait had strong emotional and cultural appeal following his death, and the new coin quickly became the standard 10-cent piece in U.S. currency. Over the years, the design has remained remarkably consistent, a testament to its popularity and the enduring legacy of Roosevelt himself. In 1965, the metal composition of the dime changed. Earlier Roosevelt dimes were struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, giving them intrinsic metal value beyond their face. Rising silver prices, however, made it impractical for the United States Mint to continue producing silver dimes for general circulation. Beginning in 1965, the Mint adopted a clad composition consisting of a pure copper core bonded between two layers of copper-nickel alloy. This change gave the modern dime its familiar silvery appearance but removed precious metal content from circulating coins. By 2011, millions of Roosevelt dimes had been struck and circulated in the United States for decades. The Denver Mint produced billions of coins over the years to meet the ongoing demand for small change. In the case of the 2011 dime, production records show that more than 1.3 billion of these coins were struck for general circulation. The Philadelphia Mint also produced 2011 dimes with the P Mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint struck proof versions with the S Mint mark, but the Denver version remains the most common in circulation today. Because of these enormous production numbers, the vast majority of 2011 dimes remain common and are still worth only their face value of 10 cents. In everyday commerce they continue to be used for purchases, change, and coin-operated machines just as they were intended. However, the world of coin collecting is filled with examples that demonstrate coins can be worth far more than their nominal face value when certain conditions, errors, or variations are present. Most 2011 D dimes found in circulation bear the marks of everyday use. Their surfaces are worn from handling, the luster of the original strike has faded, and fine details in Roosevelt's portrait and the torch on the reverse may be smoothed or indistinct. These worn coins are typically worth only a few cents above their face value if sold to collectors who seek complete date and mint mark sets. A dime worn from circulation usually holds little collector value beyond serving as a representative example of its year and mint, yet condition matters immensely in the world of coins. Coins that have not circulated and retain their original surfaces are known as mint state or uncirculated coins. These coins can be worth considerably more than circulated examples, even for common dates. Among collectors, uncirculated coins are graded on a scale from about 60 to 70 based on the amount of surface preservation and the quality of the strike. A 2011 D dime graded near the low end of that scale might be worth a few dollars simply because it looks much better than a worn coin. But as the grade increases toward the highest levels MS66, MS67, MS68, the potential value climbs dramatically because fewer coins survive in such pristine condition. For example, a 2011 D dime graded MS67 by a reputable third-party grading service may sell for several tens of dollars at auction or in private sales. Coins graded MS68 or MS69 can command significantly higher prices, sometimes reaching into the hundreds of dollars, especially when they exhibit exceptional luster, full bands on the reverse, and no visible imperfections. The presence of full bands refers to the clarity and completeness of the horizontal lines on the torch on the reverse side of the coin. Coins with full bands indicate a strong, well-struck example with excellent definition. While condition and strike quality are major factors in determining value, the most dramatic premiums come when a coin displays minting errors or unusual varieties. Errors occur because coin production is a mechanical process involving many steps: planchet preparation, die creation, striking, and quality control. At each stage there is the possibility, however small, of something unusual happening. When these irregularities occur and escape detection at the mint, the resulting error coins can be highly prized by collectors. One fascinating category of error is the off-center strike. This happens when a planchet does not sit properly in the coin press and is struck while misaligned. The result is a coin where part of the design is visible on one side, but the remainder is shifted off and sometimes even absent. Off-center errors can vary dramatically in appearance depending on how far off-center the strike is. Slightly off-center coins might show only a small amount of missing design and often sell for a modest premium. But coins struck dramatically off-center with large portions of the design missing can be worth hundreds of dollars or more, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible. Another error type is the clipped planchet. Before a planchet is struck, it is punched from a large metal sheet. Occasionally, the punch overlaps previously punched holes, creating planchets with curved or straight clipped edges. When such a clipped blank enters the mint press and is struck with the full design, the resulting coin has a distinctive missing section along its edge. Depending on the size and shape of the clip, these error coins can range from modest collector interest to more valuable anomalies. A different but equally intriguing error category involves double dies. This type of error occurs during die creation when the die itself receives multiple impressions from the hub and those impressions are misaligned. The result, when that double die strikes coins, is a doubling of design elements. Letters, numbers, or other features may appear to have ghosted or doubled lines around them. In some years of other denominations, double die errors have become famous collectibles worth large sums. For the 2011 D dime, however, a dramatic double die variety has not become widely recognized, though subtle examples can occur and merit attention by careful collectors. Detecting such varieties often requires magnification and comparison to known reference coins. Die cracks and die chips are other examples of mint irregularities. The dies used to strike coins are massive pieces of hardened steel that endure immense stress during production. Over time they begin to wear and develop cracks. When a cracked die strikes a coin, the raised crack in the die transfers to the coin's surface as a raised line. These die crack features can vary from small, barely noticeable lines to larger raised ridges. A more significant die chip might even cause a missing portion of the design to appear on the coin's surface. While not as dramatic as some error types, substantial die cracks can attract collector interest and modest premiums. A more advanced and unusual error is a brockage error. A brockage occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to one of the dies and the next planchet receives a mirror image of that stuck coin rather than the proper design. The result on the face of the new coin is an incuse, mirrored imprint of the previous coin's design. These errors are striking to behold and often command strong collector interest because they clearly reflect an unusual minting situation. Yet another possibility, and one that has produced some of the most valuable modern error coins in other years, is a wrong planchet strike. While Roosevelt dimes are clad copper-nickel coins, it is possible, though extremely rare, that a blank of the wrong composition or size could enter the press by mistake and be struck with the dime design. A coin struck on the wrong planchet may retain an unexpected color, metal content, or unusual weight, immediately catching a collector's eye. Known examples from other years involving dramatic wrong planchet errors have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. While no widely recognized wrong planchet error has been confirmed for the 2011 D dime as of now, the possibility remains, because minting facilities handle massive quantities of blanks and the occasional irregular blank can slip into the production stream. Detecting these error types often requires careful inspection. Collectors use magnifying glasses, digital microscopes, and reference guides to compare suspect coins against known standards. Many errors are subtle and may be overlooked by casual observers. But for experienced collectors, even minor anomalies can signal something worth examining further. In addition to mechanical errors, certain varieties linked to the mint mark itself draw collector interest. The Denver Mint, designated by the letter D, has used different styles of mint marks over the years. Variations in mint mark position, size, and placement can sometimes create collectible varieties when they deviate from the norm. Modern mintage procedures have reduced the occurrence of major mint mark anomalies, but careful collectors still scrutinize the space around the mint mark for indications of doubling, repunching, or unusual placement. Beyond errors and varieties, another factor contributing to value is the broader market for coins and collectible demand. Coin collecting has a long history in the United States and around the world, with enthusiasts ranging from casual hobbyists to serious investors. Auctions, coin shows, online marketplaces, and third-party grading services have created a vibrant ecosystem for buying, selling, and evaluating coins. Certain dates, mint marks, and condition levels attract greater interest because collectors seek complete sets, rare variations, or top-graded examples. Collectors also pay close attention to grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation (NGC). These organizations evaluate coins for authenticity and condition, assigning numerical grades that help standardize quality assessment across the marketplace. A 2011 D dime certified at a high grade by such a service often commands a premium because buyers trust the professional evaluation. Coins slabbed and graded at MS67, MS68, or higher carry certificates that document their grade, and these coins can sell for substantially more than raw, ungraded examples because of the assurance buyers receive regarding their quality. All of these factors condition, strike quality, mint errors, mint mark varieties, and collector demand combine to create a wide range of values for what might otherwise seem like an ordinary coin. A well-worn 2011 D dime from circulation might sell for exactly 10 cents or perhaps 30 cents to a collector completing a date and mint set. A brilliant uncirculated example with full bands in the lower mint state grades might command several dollars at retail or auction. A high-grade example certified MS67 or higher could fetch scores of dollars. And rare error examples, if authenticated and sought after by collectors, might reach into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and market interest. The story of the 2011 D dime reminds us that every coin has a journey, some long and ordinary, others remarkable and unexpected. From the moment it is struck at the Denver Mint, bearing the image of one of America's most influential presidents, each dime begins a silent voyage through circulation, commerce, and time. Some are spent quickly and worn down. Others are saved in collections, passed down through generations, or rediscovered in jars of spare change. And a lucky few reveal their secrets only when someone takes a closer look. The everyday world of coins hides countless possibilities. Whether it's a dime from 2011 or a century-old silver piece, the value of a coin is shaped not only by its face value but by its history, condition, unique features, and the stories collectors attach to it. The next time you hold a small coin between your fingers, consider that it may have a story to tell, one that reaches far beyond 10 cents and connects you to the fascinating world of coins that collectors treasure and study around the globe.